Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, my dear brothers and sisters, welcome to your program Seeking Guidance with Sheikh Kahlan bin Ibhan al-Kharusi, the Assistant Grand Mufti of the Sultanate of Oman. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, Sheikh Hatim. Thank you very much. I ask Allah the Almighty to guide us all to the right path, shower our lives with His mercy and enrich our understanding, and allow me at the beginning of this episode to welcome all our audience as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. And today we're going to have a fruitful discussion, Sheikh, and the younger people will be very happy with today's episode, inshallah.
Well, let's make everybody happy, not only the younger people.
Inshallah. Sheikh, we're talking today about marriage, and for those who are seeking to find their better half. So we start off by saying, how important is marriage in Islam? Or why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribe marriage on the believers?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praise be to Allah, peace and blessings be upon His last messenger. The straightforward answer for this question is well illustrated in one verse in the Holy Quran when Allah the Almighty says, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. Among the signs of Allah the Almighty is marriage, is getting married to your spouses. أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها, so that you will seek comfort in this marriage, in this relationship.
Yes.
And He has established mercy and kindness between you. Indeed, this is one of His signs for those who think. So we can understand that this is a natural fulfillment of a natural desire in human beings, both males and females. This is the only way through which this fulfillment is achieved. I'm talking about the sexual need. So the only way in Islam upon which this need, this necessity is fulfilled is through marriage. Lawful marriage.
Yes.
Then it is the essence of establishing a family, extending social relationship, establishing solidarity within the society, building a firm and strong society, achieving spiritual fulfillment through feeling comfort and being kind and decent to the other party. So all these are aims Allah the Almighty has spared in the Islamic marriage. We cannot detach one of them from the other, but indeed the essential purpose is to fulfill this natural necessity or need within ourselves, and that's why Allah the Almighty has made it something that all prophets and messengers mentioned in the Holy Quran, or part of the biographies and the actions and behavior of all prophets and messengers, except some prophets and messengers due to some reasons. But this is again an issue of debate. But the maxim, the mainstream, when talking about prophets and messengers, then it is marriage. As I said, we do not want to upload marriage with a lot of meanings and purposes. It is meant basically to fulfill correctly one desire for the other sex, for the other gender, through this valid contract of marriage in Islam, and with it comes the establishment of family and building, as I said, solidarity within relatives and establishing firm society. And of course, fulfilling, let's put it this way, as we can find in some prophetic narration, one half of one's religion. You may ask me, how is that?
Yeah, I want to interrupt you, Sheikh, a little bit when you mentioned about this. So you have people in the society who are not approaching marriage for some reasons, like medical reasons or financial reasons. Does this make them less believers?
No, of course not. Whenever there is any reason behind not getting married, then of course they do have a burden and they are excused. And by the way, if we are talking about the ruling of marriage, we will find that it falls into the 5 categories. It can be must do, it can be only preferred, it can be just lawful, or it can be disliked, or in some occasions it can be even forbidden.
To get married?
To get married, yes. It is entirely dependent on the circumstances and conditions. So for those, as an example, who can afford it and they are afraid of going astray when it comes to fulfilling sexual desire, then it is a must for them to get married. Yes. Because they can afford it, they are capable, and if they are not going to fulfill this necessity through lawful marriage, then they might commit sins through fornication or adultery. Then in this case for them it is a must do, it is an obligatory, an obligation. For those who are able, but still they are not afraid of falling into misdoing, then in this case it is preferred for them. Why it is preferred? Because marriage by itself is going to let them enjoy comfort, merciful relationship, caring for others,
and settlement.
Being cared by others, settlement. That's why it is recommended. Yes. For others, let's give an example of somebody who's not thinking at all of getting married, and his mind is not occupied with any sexual desires, and he is meant to fulfill other assignments. If in the society, by choice, he is able to fulfill this assignment, and he is unable to afford for marriage, as an example, and to take care for another person and to establish a family, then for him it is disliked. For a person who might cause others to go astray, cause his party to go astray, or he will fall behind the requirements of marriage and a solid relationship with his party, with his spouse, with his wife, causing them harm and bad influences, negative influences, causing them, as I said, to deviate from the straight path because of his misbehavior and his shortage in looking after them, then in this case for him it is forbidden, because he is going to lead others to go astray, and this of course is going to render him as well accountable for what he caused others. So there are, as I said, but the general mainstream of ruling of marriage is that it is highly recommended, and it is recommended for these noble aims and goals spared in marriage, to lawfully fulfill one's sexual desire and to establish a family and to strengthen the wider family, solid society, and at the same time also through this relationships that are going to occur based upon this small relationship between husband and wife. So these are, and of course imitating and following the exemplars of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all prophets and messengers before him.
Now the debate between the parents and the children, where the parents want the children to get married when they are younger, and the children want to get their own time until they settle down financially and to get the right person. So there's always this debate, when is the right time to get married?
That's a very good question, Sheikh Hatim. The right time is once a person is responsible, which means that he can bear this responsibility of having a wife, initiating a new family, opening a house. Now, it doesn't mean that it is a loaded task, but it means that the person is able to realize that marriage is responsibility. And when talking about initiating a family, then this means that he will be careful. He will take care of his family. He will maintain his family. He should do his best to maintain good living for them. So it has nothing to do actually with all other associated elements, because what is preventing young people now is not this concept or not this responsibility.
Yes.
And they do not hesitate when it comes to realizing the purposes of marriage. Everybody knows, and we have to be very realistic. The first purpose, as I said, and I'm emphasizing it because sometimes we tend to add more spirituality to marriage than it is. It is something for the physical needs of a human being, males and females.
Yes.
And Allah the Almighty, with His grace and favors, He has allowed marriage to us, and He set examples through prophets and messengers, and He said He has spared comfort, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, and He has spared mercy and kindness in this new relationship, established relationship. So everybody knows what are the goals, but sometimes they tend to forget that this means that they are going to be responsible for the other party. They are going to be, they have to do their best to maintain a decent and kind relationship with the others, to care for the other, and to have a mutual respect and to have a mutual care. And there are, of course, some materialistic requirements associated with marriage that we cannot also abandon. So once the person is capable, but we should not exaggerate and also, as I said, put loads on these expenses. Actually, what is happening is that because of our customs and traditions and following fashions nowadays, there are a lot of expenses that loaded marriage and makes it very difficult for young people. It
terrifies people to get
married. It terrifies people. So it is not because of religion, actually. It's because of these tendencies towards following fashion, imitating others, having huge parties. When it comes to dowry, when it comes, we may talk on this in details, but allow me, Sheikh Hatim, to retain back how is marriage helping the individual, be it a male or a female, in maintaining their religion, or as some traditions has put it,
yes,
to complete their religion.
Yes.
Or have their religion. Because we find in many narrations that the two main factors that may lead people to go astray are their tongues and their private parts. So, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in some narration says, once a person is getting married, then they have secured their sexual desires.
So that part is done.
That part is done. Let them take care of the other part, which is their tongues.
Their tongues.
Yes. And when he was talking about their tongues, he's not talking only about the words and what sins that we might commit through our tongues. It includes consumption. What are we going to feed ourselves and feed our families?
Earning.
Where did we get this from? Spending. And of course, what are the
communications,
words that we are chanting and stating and saying, spreading good or spreading bad and evil in the society.
Yes.
So this is if we are to understand these narrations, these prophetic traditions, it is because these narrations are because of this meaning, this concept. So which means that getting married is a very assisting factor in establishing or getting the identity and the qualities of a person in the right path. Because as I said, one important destructive factor is going to be closed through lawful marriage. Let them then, as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has advised, take care of the other parts.
Sheikh, I'll take you a little bit back to the concept of dowry. Now, unfortunately, that is always understood that it has to do with the cost of living in that time or in this time. So you always hear this, especially from parents, that now the dowry is very high because the cost of living is high, gold is high, all the expenses are high, and this is a security for the girl. But in reality, it is just a symbolic thing or a gift to the woman.
Yes.
But it is made in such a way that it is so difficult, so expensive, that the unlawful act, Sheikh, becomes cheaper than the lawful act that Allah has decreed, which is getting married.
Yes.
So we want to, advise people out there in regards to this. Sheikh.
Right. Now, we need to ask those people who are making marriage difficult and expensive. What is their point? Do they think that the higher the dowry, the more expensive the dowry, the more dignified their girls? Now, if this is the case, who deserves to be more dignified than the daughters of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Not a single daughter of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was married to more than 12 uqiyya. Now this is equivalent to almost 400 dirhams.
Yes.
If we are talking about dirhams of silver,
yes,
as found in Islamic traditions, something that is of a little amount. Now we are talking about the daughters of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there is no significance whatsoever in exaggerating in the dowry to be conditioned by the parents. They might even render themselves into committing sins because they are setting obstacles and preventing their own daughters and youth in the society to fulfill this natural sexual desire. And if it was only regarding dowry or sadaq, then it would have been much easier. But the problem is that they have set other conditions and requests associated with the dowry, to the extent that the dowry is nothing compared to the
wedding,
the party itself, the hall, the dress, the gifts,
the flowers,
the
food,
the camera woman, the food, the invitation cards, everything they are exaggerating.
The gifts to the relatives.
So they made their own life difficult.
Yes.
Let alone if they are also putting it as a precondition for what type of vehicle, what type of apartments and accommodation. And so once the wedding is done, the husband is going to discover that he is bankrupt.
Yes.
He is debted with thousands of riyals, and his life with his wife is going to be a misery. And who is going to suffer? They are going to suffer. Their families are going to suffer. The society is going to suffer. And they may think that it is due to some financial issues. No, it's not. This is a marriage free of blessings of Allah the Almighty, because it is away from the prophetic way of marriage. Even when we are talking about the best generation, the daughters of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his wives, the wives of the believers, the first generation, the companions, Yet even when, in one occasion, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised his cousin Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib to have a beast, and it was only one sheep, one goat of animal.
So it wasn't like 3-4 cows
for 2-3
feeding the entire village?
For 2,000 people, 3,000 people, men and women and different parties. And so those associated expenses are the obstacles for marriage. If we are talking also about the dowry, yes, people are also exaggerating, but as I said, it is still the easiest part nowadays.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that this problem should not be tackled. It has to be treated wisely. It has to, for those who are distinguished in the society, those who are imitated by others, they should set examples of themselves. And actually, although we do see this, I mean, people who are more knowledgeable, more aware of how important marriage is in the society, they made it easy, no conditions. They do try to facilitate this new project to succeed. But unfortunately, the overwhelming majority are the people who are falling behind.
Yes. Sheikh, now you have men and women. When it comes to men, they approach the woman for marriage,
yes,
in proposal. But what happens to the women who are ready for marriage, they want to get married, but they are unable to approach and start the proposal? So they end up waiting and not being able to fulfill this natural marriage because they are waiting for the man to come and propose.
Yes.
What might be a solution for this problem?
Well, first of all, we have to understand that there is nothing in Islam or Islamic teachings that would prevent a lady from sending a message, implicit message, to whomever she wants to get married with.
Yes.
Either through one of her relatives, even through her parents. And of course, I mean, if talking about the guardian, the wali, it is something that is even practiced by the companions, that they present their daughters to whomever they want them to get married to them. This happened with Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab, may Allah have mercy on him, who approached Sayyidina Abu Bakr.
Yes.
And Sayyidina Abu Bakr kept silent because he knew that the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned her, has mentioned Hafsa.
Yes.
So he kept silent to the extent that Sayyidina Umar was angry a bit or upset.
So he offered Sayyidina Abu Bakr his daughter.
Yes, he offered his, and there was an incident in which a lady stood up before Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and his companions were in front of him.
Yes.
And she said, "O Prophet of Allah, marry me. I'm presenting myself to you."
Yes.
And then the Prophet ﷺ, he hasn't complained. He hasn't said, "Oh, what are you doing? You are in front of men.
Yes.
In my presence, you are making this." No. He looked at her, and he hasn't favored her, and he kept silent. So one of the companions said, "Can I, Prophet Muhammad, can I marry her?"
Subhanallah.
She looked at him and she knocked her head that she wants him.
Yes.
So Prophet ﷺ, in the same occasion, he said, "What are you going to offer her?" Yes. And the story is well famous. He said, "I have nothing except my dress." He said, "If you are going to give her your dress, you will remain naked." So he said, "Go and search for even a ring of iron, of steel, to present her." And in another occasion, he said, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ made the dowry the Quran, the Holy Quran, so that the husband is going to teach his wife the surahs that he remembers of the Holy Quran, and that was the dowry. To that ease, we found how Prophet Muhammad ﷺ handled the issue of marriage.
So marriage was very easy, very simple.
It has to be very easy. It is very easy. And again, back to your issue, of course, we all know that females, women, they are more shy.
Yes.
And of course, they all feel that they should be required.
Yeah.
Part of their nature. They should be admired.
The man has to desire them.
They had to be proposed for.
Yes.
And this is one of, by the way, the dowry is set to show that the person who is making the proposal, the man who is making the proposal, is serious, is not playing. He is serious and he is admiring. So that's why this is the meaning behind the dowry. It is not a price, but it is to show that he is serious and he is admiring the lady that he is proposing for. And he meant to get married.
MashaAllah.
So this is the wisdom behind setting the dowry.
Yes.
That's why it should not be, explicit proposal from the women, from women or from ladies, but they can through. And nowadays, there are different, but they have to be very careful because unfortunately wolves are all around them.
Yes.
So they have to be very careful. And it is better to do such a thing. It is always recommended to make such an approach through one of their relatives.
Yes.
Their fathers, their brothers. I like a story here because we are talking about marriage, and sometimes it is even marriage is exploited for negative plans, unfortunately. A father told me that his daughter was about to enter university, so he said to her, "Listen, my daughter, I do love you and you are pretty. There are some boys who are going to approach you claiming that they want to marry you."
Yes.
Of course, she was shy and she said, "No, Dad, they are not going to do so. I know how to deal with them."
Yeah.
And he said to her, "Listen, all what you ask to do, to give them their number. The moment they approach you with such claims, all what you have to say, okay, thank you very much. This is my contact number of my father. Do contact him.
If you're interested in
If you are interested." And from year one, all young men escaped away from her. They tried at the beginning, and all what she said to them is that this is my father's number, and you can contact him right away, and we can talk about this. So ladies in general have to be very careful also.
Yes.
Marriage is allowed, and as we already explained, that marriage is going to fulfill their desire, their sexual natural desires, but they have to be very careful. People of bad intentions, people of diseased hearts,
yes,
are unfortunately sometimes due to these circumstances and conditions and expenses and exaggerating in also understanding marriage and thinking that it is going to be very costly. They are desperate. So they have to be very careful. The same thing is also true when it comes to men as well, although it's not very obvious with men, but they might be also driven with such tactics and such plots, unfortunately, or such traps, and then they will end up, unfortunately, away from the straight path.
Yes.
Now it is the responsibility of the society to make it very easy and to facilitate marriage. And to we do have some examples in which the guardian would give the dowry to the man, and he will say, "Listen, present this dowry.
Yes.
You do not have anything." And this we read in the history of Islam. Yes. And I have seen personally, some occasions in which the father of the girl, knowing that the young man who made the proposal is not rich enough and doesn't have the means, he would help him, and he say, "Listen, I do have an apartment there. The family do not know about it. I'm going to transfer the ownership to you. Don't tell her, and this is your accommodation." Or they may
Mashallah.
give them. We are talking
They
about good
facilitate
example. They
and help.
facilitate.
Yes.
We do appreciate such initiatives. Nowadays, also many people they have these gathering marriages.
Yes. Group marriage.
Group marriage.
Yes.
It's also a good societal initiative that should be also encouraged. And the aim is to reduce the costs and the expenses of marriage.
Now, Sheikh, there is a dilemma in marriage where the man is ready financially and physically and mentally, and the woman is also ready. But how do they know if this is the right person to get married to? How do they choose? Because the criteria is very wide. There are so many different people. They look differently. They behave differently. They come from different families. As a believer, how do I know that this is the right person for me? And because I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life, I don't want to make the wrong choice and then end up, regretting. So what are the expectations also that I should have in a marriage?
Right. Now, first of all, we have to be realistic.
Yes.
So talking about realistic setting means that setting high criterion and high qualities in the other partner is not realistic.
Okay.
So for women, setting a set of
physical criteria.
Not only physical,
Yes.
all sort of criterion, all sort of standards, expecting that they are going to find such a person without realizing that they do lack these characters and these qualities themselves. And the other also for men, they want the perfect woman. So they will set also their own standards.
So they want a model who knows how to cook,
yes,
who knows
everything.
how to clean,
and to be kind,
who doesn't ask you so many questions.
To be decent, to be kind,
Yes.
to be merciful, caring for, and doing everything, and intellectual, and emotionally stable, and everything. And the same thing on the other party. Let's be realistic.
Yes.
We do know about ourselves that we lack a lot of characters. We have a lot of mistakes. We are human beings. We can correct our characters and courtesies. We can learn. So let's give it a chance. Let's be, as I said, factual.
Lower standards.
Yes.
A little bit. Yes.
Now, how does Islamic teachings help us to make the decision?
Yes.
Two things.
Yes.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, إذا جاءكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه إلا تفعلوا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير. If you are approached by a person whose morals are good and whose religion is good, then facilitate marriage to him. If you are not going to do so, then a great crisis is going to spread in the society. So what are those two criteria? Good morals, observing his religion. Now these two criteria are also applicable for women. So how is the person going to choose a lady? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكَ. Choose the one who has religion, who is righteous, who is looking after her religion. If you are going to do so, then that is the wealth that you are going to gain. This expression, taribat yadak, means that you are going to gain wealth. So those criterion, morals and religion, are actually the principles by which we can choose. Now it doesn't eliminate this emotional feeling we have about the other party.
Yes.
But let's assume that there is a contradiction. Emotionally, we feel attached. Yet, we do know that the other party
Yes.
is falling behind maintaining his or her religion. And they do not have the intention to correct their situation. Are we going to follow our emotions and then make this sacrifice, living with a person who is not fulfilling the rights of Allah the Almighty and expecting that he is going to fulfill our own rights, of course, this is going to be madness.
Yes.
So the first criterion to choose a person are those morals and religion. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to be perfect right away, right from the beginning. But we can set our conditions, we can give our advices and see how willing this person is to change. Then, if these are met, the emotional side of it, how do we feel about the party, the other spouse, the other party? Are we comfortable? Do we feel that he is a soulmate, a sort of a soulmate? We cannot deny that this has an influence, and there is no evidence in the Holy Quran.
An attraction also.
An attraction. That's why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has advised before the engagement to look at the woman. And he says that فَإِنَّهُ أَحْرَى أَنْ يُؤْدَمَ بَيْنَكُمَا. It is better so that it's going, this expression again means the enjoyment to be established between, to be when initiated when you look at her. Now, looking at her doesn't mean only just to have a sight and that's it.
Yes.
No, it means to know her better.
Yes.
To be introduced also to her. She has the same right.
Yes.
Now, this doesn't mean that they are going to sit together without the presence of any of her relatives and mahrams, or to have in a way that is not decent, having chats on issues of entertainment and of no, it means to be serious. See what are one's feeling towards the other. Is he going to accept? Can he live with this person? If one meeting is not enough, let it be another meeting.
Yes.
As I said, with the presence of the father or the brother of the lady, let them have to exchange their thoughts and concerns, see if they can emotionally attract each other. And then once this is achieved and we have enough idea about the morals, about the, as I said, religion, then rely on Allah the Almighty and take the step. Here, of course, it is advice also because it is not a minor decision to make istikhara. Now, what is istikhara? Is it to make that? No, istikhara is to ask Allah's assistance on this decision. So it is a supplication in which you are provoking Allah's assistance, that you are about to take this step. Oh Allah, help me on this step.
Yes.
If it is for the interest of my life and the life to come, then make it easy for me. If it is not, then make me away from such, and then you will take the
Sheikh, for our viewers, how do you pray istikhara the right way? It
is two rak'ah, voluntarily rak'ahs.
Yes.
And then a supplication after the salah, after the prayer itself, in which he is provoking, as I said,
asking
first
Allah,
admitting that Allah the Almighty is the all-knowing,
yes,
the all-wise, and you know nothing. Your knowledge is limited.
Yes.
So after this introduction, praising Allah and making salah and salam upon Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Yes.
And then stating your case that, oh Allah, I'm about to marry this woman. If it is for interest of my life and the life to come, then help me and make it easy for me.
Yes.
If it is not, then show me the right way and avoid me from this.
Yes.
And then he will take the step. Some people might think that no, they are going to see something in their dreams.
In their dreams, that's the common
or an angel is come
understanding.
and taking their hands towards the. No, it's not like that. It is supplication.
Yes.
So either Allah the Almighty is going to fulfill this prayer, or He is going to be rewarded for it, or it is going to be spared as for another occasion, or a harm is going to be he is
Lifted
going to be
away.
prevented from a harm that was to touch him, but he will not regret, because he has fulfilled, he has done his duty, and he has taken the decision wisely, and then asking Allah the Almighty assistance.
Now, the last thing I want to ask you, Sheikh, is how do you prepare mentally when you have done all these steps for marriage, and what are the expectations that you should have for what you're about to get yourself
Yeah,
into?
the expectations are very much linked to the purposes of marriage,
Yes.
which are, as I said already, protecting one's chastity. That's the priority in marriage. That's the first goal. As we already said, it is to protect one's religion. So how is that? Through protecting one's chastity.
Yes.
Because he and she are now married, and they can fulfill their sexual intercourse through marriage, and that's it. And to establish a family where they are going to have children, and they are going to raise up children in a good way, and to strengthen the relationship between the two families of the groom and bride. They are going to look after each other and show kindness and mercy. Now, all their plans for their expectations are to set within this framework.
Yes.
They might have arguments, different opinions on so many issues. They have to learn how to tackle these disagreements. They are not a mirror reflection of each other. They belong to different families, they have different conditions, different environments, different way
genders.
of thinking. And that's why, yes, a different way of thinking, different way of interpreting things. So they have to have this kindness, as Allah the Almighty says, and He has spared kindness and mercy between you. So once they remember that they should show care for the other party, and mercy and understanding, and realize the fact that they might have some differences and disagreements, and they can solve these issues through dialogue, peaceful dialogue, of course, merciful dialogue.
Yes.
Then they can overcome all difficulties and problems that would occur, and definitely they are going the problems are going to occur. They will have disagreements. So to know that this is the norm. Every single house has its own issues and its own difficulties, but the difference between that house and the other house is that those couple know how to deal with these difficulties and problems. They have dialogue, they have sacrifices, they have morals, they have kindness for each other, and they can solve whatever issues. They can plan for future, and they can also assign their responsibilities within the house itself. They can share responsibility, but if every one of them is going to uphold their own position without giving sacrifice, without looking at the consequences, and as they set it now, you have to look after your ego, then this relationship is going to break gradually or suddenly, and both of them are going to regret.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Kahlan bin Abhan al-Kharusi, the Assistant Grand Mufti of the Sultanate
Thank you
of
very
Oman,
much.
for this important information about marriage. And we thank all our listeners and viewers, and I hope it was fruitful. May Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.